Peace, like happiness, is not to be found simply by searching for it. Instead, it's a byproduct of other things. In fact, peace is a byproduct of happiness, which is itself a byproduct of something else.
Hello again, everybody. This is Heartbeats, the podcast, featuring insight and teaching from the more than 50 years of work done by Landon. On today's episode, Landon speaks to this idea of peace. Stress. What to do when all is not well. And finally, a perspective on blindness.
Some words have a lot of meanings. Take the word peace, for example. Peace is what replaces war. Peace is what goes with quiet. We want to live in peace, even die in peace. Peace can be genuine contentment that enables you to make the best of any situation. Or it can simply be resigning yourself to being frustrated. I'd like to talk to you for the next few moments about peace and how you can have it. The daily news is filled with stories about people and nations seeking peace, but it is so difficult to achieve. All of us would like a little peace and privacy in our own homes, but there are so many irritating factors that rob us of any real tranquility. Have you ever tried to manufacture peace? Some can take trips into the country in an attempt to get away from the noise and confusion. Others take another kind of trip with drugs or liquor. And still others try to lose themselves in their work without daring to slow down and admit how hectic things really are. Peace, like happiness, is not to be found simply by searching for it. Instead, it's a byproduct of other things. In fact, peace is a byproduct of happiness, which is itself a byproduct of something else. Problems and difficulties still come, but there's a new, stronger spirit to meet those difficulties and even conquer them. How to have peace when facing a hostile world, health problems, poverty, threats by enemies. How to attain an inner peace, a sort of fulfillment and satisfaction that comes from what you're doing. Not being caught up in the rat race, not having to impress our neighbors, not insecure because others sometimes have more talent than we have. This is our real challenge, isn't it? Wouldn't it be wonderful to have that kind of peace? The only way some can visualize that even being possible would be ending up on a desert highland paradise or the padded cell of a mental hospital. But we can find peace in a society like ours. We can find a new focus, a new direction. The hardest part is really wanting it. And this is step one. Deciding I want peace at any cost instead of war. John Bailey is a trader in stocks on Wall Street. At any one moment, he may have on the telephone a buyer in Tokyo, a seller in Paris, and 3 other people on hold. He works in a room with 75 other people, half of whom will be shouting at any given time. The atmosphere is bedlam, a frantic exercise in making money. John Bailey is under the most extreme kind of pressure. At the end of his day, he just sits exhausted at his desk, tie loose, clothes rumpled, bleary-eyed. He's only 30. But in the year he's been a stock trader, his hair has started to turn gray. Somebody asks, "Why do you do all of this?" He looks into space, thinks a long time, and then says, "For the money, I guess." But he knows he can't keep it up. Stock trading is a young man's game, and John knows why. Stress. It makes some people tick. It makes others have heart attacks. One expert says stress is the spice of life. A student has it when he sits down to an exam. An athlete needs to feel pressure to do his best, but it can get out of hand. The mind and body work together, so when the pressure comes, the body reacts. Hands perspire, heartbeat speeds up, ulcers develop, muscles begin to pain, blood pressure goes up. Some companies employ a psychiatrist to keep watch on their people. One New York firm takes its top-paid executives to Colorado every year for a week of mountain climbing and river rafting just to calm them down. But an interesting fact has been noticed about stress. It isn't just for executives anymore. The office worker, the mechanic, the artist, the school teacher can develop the symptoms of stress just like the stock trader can. In other words, it's not the job. It has more to do with attitudes. Stress reactions show up in people who are not sure who they are, what they're doing, or why they're doing it. At that point, life will begin to cave in. What's the solution? Some say, relax, get more sleep, work off your tensions on the golf course. But I think that's not enough. A round of golf isn't going to help much if you've lost the joy of living. Real help can begin only with a self-inventory. Am I satisfied with who I am and what I stand for? Are there mistakes I need to correct? New directions I need to take?
Landon will be back in just a moment with some ideas on how to respond when all is not well. But first, we want to encourage you to visit our website, thisisheartbeat.com. You'll find additional information about Landon's work and resources that are also available. That's thisisheartbeat.com. Now, let's get back to Landon.
Sometimes I think it's no wonder we need a good stiff cup of coffee to get us going in the morning. Back in the old days, the town crier would make his rounds through the night and then once every hour or so return to the village square to proclaim all is well. But now all we have is the morning newspaper waiting for us on the doorstep announcing all is not well. Open the paper any day, and much of what you find there is bad news. Inflation is eating away our dreams, and we wonder how to pay even this month's bills. There's a crisis of confidence in government. We're not sure what politicians to trust or whom to listen to. All is not well in our families. Divorce, new lifestyles, children tossed here and there. Sad to think about. All isn't well in our churches. An uncertain sound is coming from many pulpits, and people are asking, where has my church gone? I'd love to tell you, no, all that's a mistake. Everything is okay. You've just been fooled. But of course I can't tell you that because, well, things aren't well, and we know it. What can we do about it? Well, in one sense, very little. There's not much you or I can do about inflation, or the political scene, or any other unrest of our day. But that's not to say we have to be overwhelmed. There is one positive step we can take. We can handle the news that all is not well in the right way. Here's what I mean. Think of your life as a wheel. The hub of the wheel is what's most important in your life. All the less important things rotate out from there, like the spokes of a wheel. Now ask yourself, what in my life makes up the hub or the center? For many, it's their great concern with the bad news of life, corruption, inflation, erosion of values. Now it's true, these are serious issues, but do they really belong at the center of life? Should our concern for these things overshadow everything else? I believe the center of life should not be dominated by things we can't do anything about. Rather, it should be filled with the beliefs that give a purpose to life. Remember the song that spoke of high hopes? That's what I'm talking about. What's at the center of life must provide a hope, a reason to live. And with this, all the details of life can begin to make some sense. Tell me, what is it that you think of as the center of your life? Is there one fact or one system that holds everything together for you? Is all is well? Is that true for you? Well then great, tell me about it. All is not well for you? Tell me about that too. A middle-aged man by the name of Ray was hard at work. He sat in the living room tuning the piano. Listening carefully, he tuned each note until he was completely satisfied. Ray is an expert. He does good work. Ray is also blind. The woman whose piano he was tuning kept thinking about that, and as she did so, she became increasingly aware of herself. As she was ironing, she could see the wrinkles in the shirt. Around the room were dishes and counters and cabinets and wallpaper and pictures. She could see all of them. The changing fall colors outside she could see. And days later she was still thinking, how very much he's missing. What a tragedy not to be able to see. And blindness is a tragedy. But I've been thinking, there may be worse forms of blindness than not being able to see. Think, for example, of the businessman who's blind to everything but the dollar sign, or the housewife who sees nothing in life besides dishes and drudgery, or the retiree who thinks life has lost its meaning because there's no office to go to anymore. In other words, the greatest tragedy of all is the blindness that comes when people can see but don't. And it can happen to any one of us. Over the years, decision after decision is made to shut out the world. All of life's energies are put into one narrow field of interest. It may be a career, it may be a hobby, or an overindulgence of some kind. But after so many years, life has come to mean nothing more than one tiny fragment. An outsider might say, how very much he's missing. What about the scope of vision? Your scope of vision. Is it wide enough to take in all of life? Or has a blindness set in? Great sections of your world have faded out. Your ideals, your values, relationships you once had, whatever became of them? And what can you do about it? And that's my aim on Heartbeat, to focus attention on the most important part of human life. I don't want to distract you with philosophies or crusades. I want to open your eyes to the center of life. Don't shut your eyes when there's so much to see.
We are so appreciative of your presence with us today. And if you enjoy This is Heartbeat, the podcast, we would like to invite you to follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you get your material. This simple act of rating and reviewing helps others who are looking for the same kind of material. And of course, we encourage you to visit the website, thisisheartbeat.com, where you'll find additional information about Landon's work, as well as other materials, resources that are available for you. That's thisisheartbeat.com. Thanks again for being with us today, and until next time, This is Heartbeat, the podcast.